You guys, I'm so excited because today I have the amazing Shannon Wooten. Shannon and I have known each other for quite some time. And for those of you who don't know her, she is a life coach, a writer of the book, Infertility Sucks, You Don't, which obsessed with that title, obsessed with that tagline. She is an infertility survivor herself, and she works with visionary entrepreneurs so that to help them trailblaze a path to wealth and intimacy. So Shannon, I'm so excited that you're here.
Yay!
Okay,
so about that technology. Yay!
I know, yes. Zoom is not always my BFF, but it's cool because they allow us to reach all the people and get to hang out and have live conversations. So I won't be as salty about it. So we were chatting a bunch before we hopped on, but I would love for you to just kind of fill in our audience who maybe isn't familiar with your work as of yet. Let them know a little bit about like who you are and like how did you get started in this space?
Oh man. So who am I? Gosh, I feel like it's like when I was 5.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, how did you get started? Because you're now at this totally new level. And when I met you 2 years ago, 3?
I think it's 3. I think it's
crazy.
3.
That is so crazy to me. When we first met, you were in the entrepreneur space and you were doing health and fitness coaching through a network marketing company.
Yes.
And like to see who you are and where you are now is just like, holy shit. Like you are just blowing up. You are serving at such a high level. You are just speaking. Like when I watch your live videos, I'm just like, yes, like you were like Joel Osteen, girl. You're just like cutting through the noise. And it's just amazing to watch you. I don't even know what to say. Like just be this voice for people.
Thank you. My goodness. I had a really good mentor because I have known Jen Casey for 3 years. And I remember the first time I watched you do a live in the mastermind that I was in with you. And you just like came on and you're like, hi. And I was like, oh my God. Meanwhile, I'm like reading a script behind my very first lives. I'm like, hi guys, welcome to my live. Da, da, da. Like all these things. So nervous. And meanwhile, like I see you and you just have like such finesse. And I'm like, yo, like how do I get on that level?
God.
Mentors are important. But yeah, when I started out, I was in an MLM and like I said, I jumped into a mastermind with Jen Casey and started talking about emotions and confidence and a lack thereof and a disorder that I was uncovering and learning as my husband and I were traveling our path of infertility and unsuccessfully, not being able to conceive. I had a conversation one day, just like randomly, I remember posting in the mastermind about endometriosis and autoimmune deficiency and infertility and struggling in this emotional darkness that it was just weighing me down. And you so beautifully said, why are you doing this MLM? It is not the thing that lights you up, because when you talk about this thing, you're lit up. You are on fire. It can be easy. It can be effortless. It can be the thing that just fuels you where the words are like falling out of your mouth. And I was like, I can't talk about that. I can't talk about that. I don't know. And because I was still learning at the time. And I nestled into the words that you were saying and I sat with them, and it really was the impetus that said to me, you need to quit this thing. You need to quit this stream of income that is there. You need to abandon ship because it's not what serves you or lights you up. And and that's what it felt like, right? Like this isn't working. I always say it's a circle where a square should be. I was like trying to force myself into this mold that was like, do not enter. You do not fit here. And had all of this, just crap around abandoning my downline and, losing that stream of income and what, where else is that money going to come from and what will people think of me? And it really was the first time I think in my life where I was like, fuck it. Like I have to do what's going to light me up. And you were the very first support system that I had that was like, go do you, be unapologetic about it, because what you do over here is kind of like vanilla. And when you're over here, it's fire. Everyone wants fire. And you were the very first person that started my wheels turning about, well, how do I become a coach? And what is it that I would want to coach about? And what voice do I have that I want to share in this world and in this space? And that was the impetus that said, okay, you're going to be a life coach. You're going to talk to people about emotional freedom and clarity and mindset shifts around confidence. And oh, by the way, you'll write a book and it will be about infertility, and it will be very, very transparent. And as some people have said to me, audacious, but at the same time, you'll never feel more like yourself.
Mm. You just speak in poetry. It's beautiful. Just
Thank you.
Okay, so I would love to just backtrack for a sec. When you had that moment of, I can't do this, because I think there are a lot of women where they will consciously choose to do something that feels safe.
Yep.
Because it's like, well, if this fails, I wasn't all in with it anyway. It wasn't me bearing my soul. So when you, because obviously this is your zone of genius, this is your soul on fire. So what was your thought process as you were stepping into this, and how did you make you made the decision, but how did you step into being this new version of you?
I think honestly for years, it was just living a life of, wanting to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
I always feel like I straddled the line, right? I was, the theater nerd. I took voice for years. I've been acting since I was, like 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I was a gymnast and a cheerleader and played volleyball and ran track. And, I was kind of like, I never really felt a place where I fit in. I never really was like, oh, I go in this box. This is where I go. I'm more like the electricity outside the box. Like, where did I go? You can't grab it. It's crazy.
I love that.
And very complex. And, when I went into the MLM, I think I was really looking for the box. Okay, so now I'm of a certain age. I'm going to try and find myself the box. Meanwhile, never been in a box my whole life. And it worked, but it didn't work, right?
Yeah.
And I think when you said to me, this is the thing that lights you up, why do you not just do that? It was, I know everybody really likes to say these days, lean into it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever need to lean into anything. I'm always the girl that's like, I'm here for the adventure. I'm leaning off the cliff already. Like, I dare you to hold me back. And when you said it, it triggered in my mind of how do I nestle into myself for the first time ever in life? Ever in life. And to talk about that truth about the struggle that I was going through, which, oh, by the way, when I peeled back the knowledge and the layers of it, was something that wasn't just about this thing. It was the straw that breaks the camel's back. It was patterns and years of habitual behavior that I was just perpetuating, trying to fit into the box. And coming to terms with, for infertility and autoimmune disorders, and the fact that I was just being like a fucking poser my whole life was very humbling. And owning it was also humbling, because I realized that, something that you say, and, a lot of brilliant leaders say, is that, you have to go first. Mm-hmm. You have to go first. And I had yet to find somebody that I could relate to who was super complex and just so outside of the box, that was like, I have good days, I have bad days, and, I'm going to be able to live by it. I'm going to be able to nestle into myself and say that if I feel like this, and there's a chance that there are other people that feel like this. And it really felt like a disservice to other humans in the world that are potentially in this same cyclone of trying to find the box that they fit in, but they can never just fit in.
Yes.
So I took the mentality of fuck it. I've never said fuck it before in my whole life as much as I said in that moment.
Yeah.
And instead of trying to find my box, maybe I don't have one. Maybe I am the labelless, femme. Maybe that just is who I am. And if I can operate, all over the place and have a great life, then again, I would just never feel more like myself than just allowing me to not have a box. And that's how I nestled into it. You live outside the box.
So good. I love what you said, that people feel like posers. And it isn't so interesting how in so many circles, it really is like the blind leading the blind, in the sense that it's people who are uncomfortable in stepping into who they are, following somebody who's also uncomfortable stepping into who they are, who's following. So everybody's just walking around with these layers and these masks. Mm-hmm. And so I think what you're saying is so really powerful if you guys will really take a moment to sit with it and digest it and understand that, wow, what is possible if I really do step into that version of me? Who will I give a voice to? Like, that is
Mhm.
freaking profound.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome. And I think too, what we were talking about even before we jumped on, just like the power of those tiny little shifts in your business.
Hmm.
There are so many people like, oh, I want the big launch. I want, the droves of clients just flying in through my door. They want the thing now. They want six-figure business now. They want this now. And I think, what you had shared at the beginning of just, making that 1 millimeter, 10 millimeter shift in your business and in your thinking, like that's what opened everything up. And I don't know that people necessarily are encouraged by social media these days to celebrate and acknowledge those small things.
Yep.
So this isn't even really like a question, but like, I just want to talk about this because I
Yeah.
think it's like really fascinating and I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah. So I think, again, looking at it from the 1,000-mile perspective, when I took a minute to nestle into like, who would I be if I just allowed me to be me? Like not having a box to check off or some sort of like, compartmentalization for me to fall into of being digestible.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, dude, I don't even know what I'm going to be like from day to day. And I'm kind of okay with that. And like, I started to look at myself and I'm like, oh, my fashion's like that. Like I get up every morning. I'm like, what am I feeling today? Am I feeling leather pants? Or am I feeling like, this very boho chic dress? Like, what am I feeling? Like, oh, there's just no box for it. Right. And I started to think to myself, well, what if my business could be like that? What if I could allow people to see that, you don't, and I agree it's important when you're starting out to like niche down so you can understand like who you're speaking to. Otherwise you're just like shiny object, like, and you and everything. And I want to do all the things. Right. And I want to have the 6-figure launch. But I looked at myself and I started to see like my whole life was like that. Oh, I'm just going to continue to get to the next thing. The next. Like it's a very externally driven life where I'm always looking for the next thing to be accomplished as like, oh, this is a personal win, instead of allowing myself to be like, oh, well, who was I in that moment? That was really fucking amazing. That was really great. I allowed myself to just be fluid in it. I allowed myself to see that I could be a life coach to men and women. What? Like I allowed myself to see that I could be a writer while also being a life coach. I allowed myself to see that there was really no box that I had to fit into, but allowing myself to see what the driving factor of it was. What was the purpose behind it? What was I trying to accomplish versus always looking like, oh, well, once I get that next client, then that will validate me. No, it's like, who am I in the moment of my business? Who am I in the things that I want to create? And having consistency as a form of respect, not only to that idea and that mentality of I get to do whatever I want and it's great, but as long as I show up from a place of authenticity versus trying to be like, once I have the 6-figure launch, then I'm a good coach. Once I write a book, then I'm actually an author. Once I, receive so many downloads, then I run a podcast. Like, no, I show up and I coach a program. And even if there's one person in it, I'm a coach.
Yep.
No, I show up and I write content every day because I'm the author of my life. So I'm actually an author right now. No, I'm recording the podcast on Mondays and Fridays. And even if I have one download, then I'm a podcasting person because I have the equipment and I do it. It's not about the validation of anything. It's about the purpose and my energy behind it.
Seriously, poetry. Like I feel like I'm just like, whoa, okay, so good. I would love to talk to you. Like this is just so brilliant. And I had like 5 ideas and then I just got so wrapped up in you were saying, I totally forgot where I was going to go with that. Yay! But I do also, we'll come back to it, but I do want to talk to you about writing a book because this is a whole other level of discipline and showing up and believing in yourself. Cause you're like, I am literally creating this physical thing. And especially for you, it's a very personal thing that you've created. Mm-hmm. So what was that experience like from being like, I'm going to write a book to actually like birthing this creative thing out into the world?
Well, again, I don't know, I don't like to put anybody in a box, obviously, but I don't know if most people just sit down and their intention is I'm going to author something. I'm going to write something, because that wasn't mine. I sat down and I was like, I don't know how to understand what I'm going through. The emotion was so vast. It was so all-encompassing. It really just drove my entire existence. Mm-hmm. And I had went to see a therapist, and like that, that exchange didn't work for me. I'm not saying that therapy isn't amazing. I'm saying like to each their own, and that for me just wasn't really working.
Yeah.
When I started to seek out the assistance of a life coach, and they were reflecting to me like, do you hear what you're saying right now? And I couldn't hear it.
Mm.
And when I realized that I couldn't hear what I was saying, I realized that there was a great potentiality that I wasn't being with what I was thinking and what I was feeling as well. And so I was like, okay, well, how do I come to terms with this? So I started journaling. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to it's going to be a brain dump. And before I realized it, I had like 20,000 words. It was like, emotions of like, oh, like what? Oh my God, I can't believe I wrote that. I can't believe I think that. I can't believe I'm living that way.
Wow. And
so I started just write. And I showed it to my husband one day, and I was like, because it was wild, right? To be like, this is how I feel. And I was in the experience for like 4 years, but I'm seeing it for the first time and letting him read it, and hey, not a life coach, just my husband, that maybe you're writing a book. And I was like, I'm not a writer, right? I was in that box again, like, oh, you have to be intentional about it in order for it to be legitimized. And when I took myself out of the box that I'd put myself in, I was like, okay, well, what if I just did a little bit of this every day? And then when I did a little bit of that every day for like 3 months, then I went back and I started to read through it. I started to see that I was grieving. And then I started to research about grief and a little bit with addiction too, because I started to see that I was addicted to it. I found comfort in my madness. I found comfort in my hurt. And I was like, what kind of person am I if I am going to my pain for comfort? And I started to see what my coach was doing for me. And I was like, I want to learn how to reflect to somebody, because her reflecting to me, maybe I could reflect to myself.
Yeah.
Right. And I started to learn through coaching, like, you need to be coachable to you. You have to coach you too. And so as I started doing that process, I started to see that I was finding solace in my misery. And I started to continue to write about it because I became aware that if I feel this way about this process, again, if I'm putting myself in a box that you can't give up, you have to keep going, even if it's to your own detriment, that maybe other people would be feeling that way too. And before I knew it, that's how I started to write the book. And when I also started to take myself outside of the box of, oh, but you didn't intentionally author this.
So like doesn't make it legit kind of a thing.
Right. I started to give myself permission of, but what if you could be like the authorless author? What if you could be labelless in capacity too? What if you could come to the culmination of this book and just be done and decide that you're going to publish it as is? And that it can be another piece, another element of you that doesn't have to be like definable.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Like, what does it mean to be an author? What qualifies someone as an author? And I think what you just said, like, that even gives, for me, I'm like, oh, cool. Like, so everything that I've ever written, I'm an author because I'm a content creator. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everybody, even on like social media, I see some things in social media. I'm like, yo, that is profound. Like, you rocked my world with that. Like, goosebumps. Like, thank you for sharing that. And to me, you're an author. You live a life. That's your story. So you're just automatically an author. Period.
Boom. Mic drop. I'm not usually just like silent, but like, this is so good. So I'm curious too, like when you put your book out there into the world, what was that day like?
I basically felt like I was going to shit my pants and cry and throw up all at the same time. Like, I think of it as like literary food poisoning.
Ooh, okay.
That's what it felt like, because like you said, it's a very personal account with a very polarizing opinion. Going through infertility, and, my heart goes out to you, whether you have, infertility, secondary infertility, or, you're LGBTQ trying to have a child and you're going through adoption process and you're getting rejected, anything where you're trying to be a parent and you have the motherly or fatherly love and it feels like the world is rejecting you. My heart goes out to you, period. But I have a very, specific opinion. And for me, it was, going through infertility, I get that the doctors and the people want you to have the hope, and I want you to have the hope too. You deserve to have the hope if it's in you. But I couldn't do it to myself anymore. I was suicidal. I was depressed. I was terrorizing my husband and my family with my outbursts. I was ruining my marriage. I had disassociated myself from everybody, not to mention myself. And I felt like this vacant human. I had nothing. I was nothing on the inside. And it came to me having the realization that I can't do this anymore. And whatever that meant to whomever was in my general vicinity didn't matter to me as much as I mattered to me, because I was drowning in my life. I felt like I was dying every day. And to put that out into the world, that, you are not the sum of your struggle, whatever your struggle is. And if you have to make a very bold decision to say, if you can't live with this, then that's okay, because I can't live for you. Yeah. Then that's what I had to do. I had to put it into the world, because I thought to myself about all the other women and all the people I just said going through something where they feel like they're being suffocated by their life, and they're missing it. They're missing their joy. They're missing their calling, their purpose, the thing that lights them up. This is a personal account of me saying, I am giving you the permission to give yourself to say, I am more than this, and I can't let myself go through this anymore right now. Whatever that means down the road, that's what it means. But you don't have to be digestible for other people. And on that day when I published that book, I thought, wow, I'm probably going to piss a lot of people off. Mm-hmm. And I'm probably going to be maybe even misunderstood, because it's a very personal account of my story. And I decided that in order to be okay with that, I also had to be labelless in that moment too. Mm-hmm. I didn't write it for anybody to think that I was digestible. I didn't write it to offend anyone. I didn't write it to hurt anyone. I did it for liberation and liberation only. And I had to allow myself to nestle into that.
Yeah. And you're not here to be everyone's cup of tea. You're not here for everyone to, and I'm curious, I'm sure the feedback's been amazing. Like, what has been the most profound piece of feedback that you've gotten so far from the book?
Oh my God, every piece of feedback is profound. I just have to say that I cry all the time. I totally cry all the time. Oh crap. It's hard for me to dwindle it down to one piece of feedback. I think every piece of feedback, like I said, is profound and important, but I think it is those moments where somebody says to me, thank you for seeing me. Oof. Thank you for hearing me. Thank you for allowing me to be understood and to let me know that not just in this struggle, but in any struggle in my life, I get to decide the direction that I go in. And if that means I lose some people along the way, then that's what that means. It doesn't mean I don't love them. It doesn't mean I don't care about them. It just means that I take ownership of the fact that I need to love myself more than I love anything in this world, period.
So good.
Thank you.
And I'm curious too, because this is part of, putting yourself out there, being visible, writing a book, sharing your truth. Have you gotten haters?
Yes.
You have. Okay.
Like, yes, I have.
Yes, I have. Okay. So I think from a light perspective, because I think if you're getting haters and trolls, that's a beautiful sign that like you are reaching a shit ton of people, and that you are creating something that is polarizing for people. And anytime somebody doesn't like what you're doing, it's just because it's reflecting something in them that they either don't like or that they don't want to look at. So it's like, ooh, I'm stirring the pot. Like whenever I like make a post and people are like, I don't agree with this, I'm like, yes, bring it on. like let's do this, because I want to create those conversations. And I think that's part of what being a coach and thought leader is really all about. So, yeah. And I think as a newer coach, as somebody who's a new business owner and content creator, that can feel really freaking scary. It's like, oh wow, what if people don't like it? And yes. I think there are some people who are like waiting for that, like, I don't know, waiting for something to happen where somebody like throws tomatoes at them or like calls them out on our live video or like gives them that 1-star podcast review. I have 1-star podcast reviews.
Yes.
Like I'm here to tell the tale. Like I lived through it. It didn't break me, guys. I actually smiled and I was like, good, I'm finally like spreading my show's actually reaching more people now. That's what that's telling me.
That is a beautiful perspective, because I mean, I didn't hold that until just this moment when you said that. Like I'm potentially reaching more people, because I also
I'm outside my warm audience of like the low hanging fruit.
Yes.
People like me. now like they're sharing it, who's sharing it, who's sharing it, who's sharing it. And they're like, oh, listen to this podcast. And they're like, oh yeah, this was shit. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or, this is just somebody looking to, cause a ripple effect, someone looking, I've gotten that you're just looking to get a reaction. And I'm like,
Yes.
no, I'm not actually, if that is your reaction, then I celebrate you and having it, but I actually didn't write it just specifically for you.
Right.
It just wasn't just
too.
for you.
Yeah. There was a, I don't know if it was once or maybe like a 2 or 3 star review. And somebody was like, this podcast is so fast. I can't even listen to it. It's like it's on super speed. That person probably had it on like 2x or 1.5.
Yes.
So it's like, I think like that really made me laugh too, because I think it's important for all of us as creators to recognize that like the way in which a person is consuming our content is not something that we have control over. So like somebody listening to it, like you don't know why they gave a low review. Maybe they accidentally hit it and they couldn't change it. Maybe they accidentally had your podcast on like 2x speed and they didn't realize and they thought you for some reason posted something in like chipmunk speed. Like you just never know where someone is at. So I think that's a valuable lesson.
It is. It's a truly valuable lesson too. And it's we can't be responsible for the filter, like you're saying, that through which people ingest us through. And it's not, I don't know about you, but I don't ever set out with the goal of like, oh God, I hope everybody likes this. I mean, a large majority of the time I'm writing it because it inspires me or it's just flowing through me. And I feel a responsibility to do that. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, and I say this in my book too, like I wrote my book for the powerful woman that lived through my experience. And that powerful woman was me. And I don't look back on her and shame her for not knowing what she didn't know. I look back on her and I think, thank you for getting me to this place. Thank you for the struggle. Thank you for the highs. Thank you for the lows. Thank you for all of it. And when I post something and somebody has a energetic response that perhaps is negative, I don't look at it as, oh, they hate me. I look at it as, oh, perhaps that person is where I was when I first started writing that book. Perhaps that person is where I was when I started writing this comment. So I get it and I receive it. And I actually bring them in to my energy field with warmth and love and say, thank you for giving me that, because you remind me that not everybody is here to blow smoke up my ass. And I value that. I value it.
And I think that's a beautiful perspective as well, because that's just the way that it goes. And the bigger we grow, I think it was Catherine Zankina, some of you guys know her, Manifestation Babe. She was talking about this and she was like, the bigger that you get, the bigger your target on your back is.
Yes.
And that doesn't need to be a bad thing. Like, because some people might be like, oh my God, why would you say that as a coach? Like, what a scary thought. But I don't think it needs to be scary. Like you're saying, I think you can receive all the things that people are saying. You can acknowledge when somebody's just giving like a character attack and just being an asshole for no reason. And then there are people, and like we don't need to acknowledge those, because it's like, okay, clearly you're going through some stuff, and like I send you love, I send you lots of light.
So this reminds me of something that my mom said to me when I was younger. And for those of you guys that are watching this right now, I had something in my eye, sorry. But when I was younger, I was bullied. And for those of you that can relate, I love you. And I hope that you look at it as a character building experience, not for them, not about them, just for you and like what the lessons that you got from it were. And when I was bullied, sometimes they would, throw things at me when I was in the lunchroom, or they would call my house and they would scream like, slut into the phone, things of that nature. And I remembered asking my mom, I said to her, like, can I just switch schools? I was crying to my parents, like, please, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. It's ruining my life. And my mom just very frankly said to me, Shannon, not everyone can be liked. And I remember thinking to myself, like, why? Like, why can't they like me? Like, what is so wrong with me that they wouldn't like me? And my mom just very frankly said, like, not everyone's going to like you. Not everyone is going to want to be your friend. And I remember wanting so badly to understand, like, why wouldn't people want to be my friend? I never really had that, perspective at that time in my life of like, oh, I wouldn't want to be somebody else's friend. But as I got older and I started to learn more, like, it's actually right for them and right for me for us to not be a match. It's just that energetic field of saying you two are not for each other. And every single time I get a hater on one of my posts, or, you know, somebody writing me this long email about how audacious I am, and reading my book through the filter of telling people to give up on their dreams, I realize to myself, not everybody can be liked. And I receive it as, oh, this is actually an energetic protection for me and for them. We're not for each other. And that's fine. If someone comes to you, of course, and starts spewing profanities at you, then, you know, block, delete, like protect your energy 100%. But I always think to myself, not everyone can be liked, and it's actually a protection for me as much as it is for them. They're right and I'm right. We're not for each other.
That is beautiful. Oh, I love this so much. This is such an important conversation because, yeah, this is one of the big reasons why people don't put themselves out there. And this is the underlying fear of like, I'm going to be kicked out of the tribe, right? It's like that very visceral, primal fear that, and I know even like leaving network marketing, kind of bringing it back full circle, that's another thing. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm not only being kicked out of the tribe, but I'm leaving the tribe. And will people slander me when I'm gone? And will they talk about me that, you know, and it's like, that can hold so many people back from stepping into their greatness and their zone of genius.
Yeah. And it's very interesting to me too, because I always think to myself, you know, whenever I have those moments, and I think that that's, you know, as we look at people that have elevated levels of success and we're just like drooling over them, and they're like, she never feels bad about herself. She never has a bad day. She's just this, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, several bad days. However, you allow yourself to formulate the perspective, at least I do, of, well, do I want to live for them? Or do I want to live for me?
Yes.
And it in that perspective doesn't mean I don't care. Doesn't mean I can't make a mistake. Doesn't mean I can't say, like, I've had people be like, oh, you actually said this word in a live and I think you meant this word. I'm like, you're probably right. I probably did. Like, I'll go and Google it and I'm like, yep, totally right. Human, full-blooded human here.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that if you post something and somebody is offended that you can't honestly and with complete integrity and vulnerability say, I never would want to hurt you. Like, that is 100% always my intention. I would never want to hurt anyone. I would never want that, and trust in that, and have the capacity and the knowing to be able to say, I'm sorry, and I mean it. But if you don't receive it, I can't be responsible for that. And I'm not responsible for that. So I think it's important to remember, you know, when you take those risks and you take those leaps, and as you continue to have your incremental successes as well as your huge blowout successes that just blow your mind, to have gratitude for the fact that you took a leap for you by nestling into yourself and saying, am I going to live for them or am I going to live for me? And in living for me, does that mean I can't be human? Does that mean I can't be flawed? Does that mean I can't make mistakes? And on, you know, in having full integrity, apologize or take ownership of something from a very human place, and allowing that to be what it is, and also allowing them to not receive it. And saying that's their experience of me, but this is also my experience of me, and move on. Keep it moving.
Keep it moving. Boom. Okay, so I'm curious, how do you, like, when women are trying to find their zone of genius, or men, what is your best advice for them? Because clearly you have just like fully embraced and fully stepped into what is your passion, your purpose, your mission in life. So how do people start to tap into their zone of genius?
My best piece of advice is get to know yourself. Not through the lens of other people. And that'll happen, right? You'll have like we're talking about the haters, but you also have the perpetual patterns of who you used to be in your life, almost like fighting you to stay inside your comfort zone. Yeah. It's really allowing yourself to have the elevation, because I know we're talking about like incremental success and like, you know, being inside yourself, but get the elevation of, who do I want to freaking be in my life?
Because you can have those quantum leaps if you step into that. Like, it doesn't have to be one thing or another.
No, yes. Like, you can have those days where you're like, holy shit, I just sold out a program in 24 hours. How did that happen? And I'm like, I don't care. It happened. Woo! Like, it's like, wait a minute. I actually don't need to know. Woo! Yeah. But really getting the elevation, having like, you know, the 30,000 mile view or 100,000 mile view perspective on what do I want my life to be like without limitation. Be audacious, right? Allowing those perspectives of like, at my best, at like my most opulent, at my most luxurious and sustainable life, how do I want it to look? And just be wild with it. Wild. I want to go on vacations every 3 months. Boom, done. I want to make 6 figures in 6 months. Boom, done. I want to have, you know, 5 people in my life that I can call at any moment. Boom, done. I want to have a great relationship with my mom. Done. I don't want to work at this job anymore. Done. Like, allow yourself to just envision what feels wild. Write it down, get super specific about it, and allow yourself to believe that this can happen.
Yep.
This can happen. Also knowing that you're going to have the things that pull you down. You're going to have your comfort zone knocking at the door going, excuse me, who the fuck do you think you are? Sit yourself down right here. This is a little bit too aggressive.
Yep.
And allow yourself to acknowledge them. Be like, hi, I see you, but what I want for my life actually exists in this frame of reference. And I'm going to allow myself to have you, the comfort zone, knocking at my door every day saying that's too scary, and allow you to do it scared. Walk with the fear, say, yes, I freaking can. Yes, I can have the moments that trip me up, but also I can, you know, what is it that people say? Collapse time.
Mm-hmm.
I can collapse time, and I can do it at any time. I can have the life that I want. So just get super specific and know who you are at the end.
Boom. So good.
Boom.
Okay. So you just shared some awesome beliefs and mantras almost that you have. And I think I love asking really successful people, what are your beliefs about success? And like, what are your beliefs about money? And I think you already shared quite a few right there. So for those of you guys who are listening, like, hit the little back button so you can extract those, because these can become, because if you're trying to step into becoming a successful person, you've got to learn how to think like a successful person. And so I'm always very curious. I remember when I was hanging out with my friend Catherine Zankina, Manifestation Babe, I literally looked at her and I was like, what are your beliefs about success? And she was like, what a good question. And I was like, well, I'm really curious. And she's like, well, these are my beliefs. And like went off on a list. And I was like, I'm gonna write these down. I'm gonna use these, because I'm always looking to other people who are crushing it, who are stepping into their purpose. And I'm like, okay, well, what can I add? How else can I play? How else can I expand my own vision? So for you already said, like, I can collapse time.
Yep.
I don't need to know the how.
Nope. And I also don't need to know, there's no reason. Like, I think we're always looking for the reason for everything in our lives, you know, like, well, why did I lose my job? Why did my partner cheat on me? You know, all like there really is no reason. Like, there just is no reason. And you ever notice that, like, someone comes back to you like, well, the reason is, you know, you weren't performing up to par, you know, you weren't, you know, meeting your deadlines. And you're like, no, I definitely met my deadlines, boo-boo. I definitely was showing up. You just didn't notice. Like, the reason doesn't apply to you. Do you ever notice that? Yeah. So even though we look for the reason, like, there really is no reason. There isn't. It's what you are willing to embody. Yeah. Are you willing to, I believe that, for me, I look at success as having ease, flow, luxury, and longevity, as well as emotional freedom. Mm-hmm. And as you said, to me, success is a mindset. Yeah. It doesn't mean you live in it can, but it doesn't have to mean you live in a $5.6 million mansion. It doesn't mean that you drive around in a Maserati. It means that you believe whatever your level of success is, whatever your version of success is attainable. You believe it's sustainable. You believe you can have it. And so I don't believe that there's a reason for success. I believe that you embody it. You embody confidence, you embody success, you embody emotional freedom and stability, you embody the relationships you want to have in your life. It's an embodiment, period.
Beautiful. And I think recently I was having a conversation with some friends about what does success actually look like? And I think in this coaching world, this was the whole conversation, that there can be a pressure to have your business or your life look like someone else's version of success. And I'm just like, well, my version of success doesn't mean that I have a million Chanel bags. Cause like, I'm not really a bag person. Like, that doesn't really light me up. And I remember a couple of my friends are like, no, but Jen, you have to like get a really nice bag. You have to just do it. You have to treat yourself. And I'm just like, but like, I don't want to. Like, I actually, like, for me, my identity, I feel way more successful if I'm like saving money and like rocking my really efficient, over the shoulder, like Target bag. Like, to me, that's like, that is success to me. That is like me and my jam. That is me, my purpose. I'm like, I would much rather like spend that money on like contributing in some way, or like doing like some kind of adventure for me and my family. Like, I don't need a crazy bag, which doesn't make it right or wrong. Cause actually after we had that conversation, I realized, Jen, you're willing to spend like $100 on a nice new jacket, but you won't spend more than 30 on a bag, but you wear your bag every single day, everywhere. So like, instead of walking around with one with a frayed strap, because that was always my thing. I'm like, just get a nicer damn bag.
A frayed strap.
I'm just like, but it's so perfect, because I could never find things, because I live in New York City. So
Yes.
you don't want one that's too big. You don't want one that's too small. It's got to fit properly. It's got to like fit your phone and you're this and you're that. And you don't want it to be too clunky. Those are my rules for bags. And so my future mother-in-law for Christmas, she actually got me a really, really nice bag that fits everything perfectly. And it's kind of like the unicorn of handbags. And I was just like so ecstatic. But to me, that's like, I don't care if it was like $1,000 or 10, like if it fits and it's the right size, like that's my rules for bags. Yeah. I mean, looking at that, it's like, what does success really mean? Does it mean you have a team of 15 people, 15 employees working for you? Does it mean that you're making $8 million? Does it mean that you're making $100,000? Like, yeah, I was talking to one of my friends and he's like, I don't really like need more money. Like he invests his money. He's like, we do about $500,000 a year. We have really low marketing costs. We have like 2 really solid people on your team. I'm good. Like, I don't really like understand this whole like marketer mentality of like, you got to get more, you got to hunger for more. He's like, I'm literally living my best life and beyond. And I have more money than I could possibly need. So like, and I'm serving at the highest level. I'm helping him tons of people. He's like, so why am I making that wrong? And that's and I was like, why are you making that wrong? He's like, oh, that's a really good question.
I love that because as you were talking, I was thinking about it too. I look at everything, every aspect of what I've going on in my life, like my creativity, my clients, my money, my business, my family, my friendships, they're all relationships.
Yeah.
And when one of those things is out of whack, like where I don't feel that flow and that effortlessness and the gratitude and the reception and the giving, and it feels forced, or it feels in lack, or it feels desperation, then that's everything's out of whack. And that's how I view success too. I always want my success to be a relationship. Am I in gratitude with it? Am I nurturing it? Am I ignoring it? Am I treating it like a basic bitch? Like, how is my relationship to success? Am I taking it for granted? Am I making it what defines me? So I look at everything in my life as a relationship. And I think success for me is the same thing. Is it a cultivated, equally energetically exchanged relationship? And if it's not, it's whack.
Bam.
Bam.
Bam. So many bams happening today. Like, yes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, this is so good. I feel like we could just go on and on for hours because there's just so many layers to all of this good stuff. But good thing you talk about a lot of this on your live videos and share a lot of this type of content. So if people like, you need to go follow Shannon because she just like drops knowledge bombs and like lights a fire under your butt for real.
I love you.
I love you. I just love you. So where can people go to learn more about you?
Oh, so I love the gram, Instagram at Shannon Wooten. Facebook is also Shannon Wooten. My website is lifewithshannon.com. You can also catch me on Mondays and Fridays on Soul in the Raw podcast with my co-host Olivia Celine.
Woo, woo. I love that you guys are doing that together now. It makes me so warm and fuzzy.
It's like what happens, you work with Jen Casey in a mastermind and then all of a sudden you walk out like BFFs. Don't know, it just happens.
I don't know. That's like literally makes me feel all the feels because I love both of you so much and you're both so amazing. So guys, if you're, most of you guys should probably already be subscribed to Soul in the Raw, but if you're not, then you need to go and connect with these ladies because they are freaking incredible. They just speak some truth. Like no nonsense, right to the guts of the big stuff that's happening for women. And
your guts.
The guts of it. Get to the guts. And I do want to ask, like, what is next for you? And wait, before you go, for anybody who leaves a review on the podcast, like what I'm going to do is do a little giveaway. So to give away your book. Infertility Sucks, You Don't.
Yay! So, I will also do a giveaway with you as well then.
Oh, okay, cool.
To 2 people, yes.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, so we're going to give away 2 copies. So what you'll do is drop a review on the podcast on iTunes and leave your Instagram handle.
Yes.
Whatever that is, so that we know that it's you, because not everybody, like sometimes people won't leave their names. And then just send us a message on Instagram. You can take a screenshot of the show after you do it, tag us at Jen Casey and at Shannon Wooten, and let us know that you left a review. And I think we'll find the deadline. We'll post it on Instagram what the deadline is for, because I'm not sure exactly what date.
You choose.
We'll say a week after this episode airs will be the deadline. So guys, just look on your app so that you have the right date.
Yay.
But yeah, that'll be super fun.
Woo! I'm excited.
I'm so excited. Okay, so what is next? What is in the works for you now?
Ooh, okay. So I don't even know. I don't even know if I've announced this yet. I'm like, have I said this?
Do I get the exclusive scoop?
I'm not sure. I think I did a live about this, but now you guys are hearing it for certain. So I have a new program that's coming out about confidence and discussing your ego and the importance of ego. So I know that that's going to be pretty polarizing for some people hearing that. So the program is going to be called The Savage Way. I will be launching. I know, I'm so excited. So if you guys have any questions about it, please send me a message on @Shannon Wooten on Instagram. And I also will be relaunching Shadow Work Academy, which is my program about exploring your shadow and your integration for your darkness and your light. And that will be going live again in April. And those are the two hot spots I have right now.
So good. Any new books in the work?
I am currently in the process of writing a second book, and this is all going to be about your confidence and your ego. I'm really onto it. I love it so much. I feel a lot of people give the ego a bad rap, but I would like to kind of put some little sparkles on that one for you guys.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. Thank you so much for being here. I freaking love you. I just love watching and seeing everything that you're doing and creating and how you're just showing up for so many women and giving them a voice. So thank you for being you.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. Again, if you loved this episode, take a screenshot of the show and tag us on your Instagram stories @HeyJenCasey and @Shannon Wooten so that we can hang out with you, connect with you, and we would just love to hear some of your biggest aha moments from today's episode. So thank you guys for being here, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.